What's up YouTube? It's the one and only Legend of Winning, aka Low, and I am back again with another video. Now, we're finally here, the preseason is amongst us, and I am ready just like everybody else is. But before we even get into the NBA season, of course we gotta do a lot of wrapping up of the all season and prepare ourselves for the NBA season itself. And this right here was arguably one of the more eventful off seasons in a very long time, which makes sense to why a lot of people are jumping to conclusions and overreacting to every little bit of things that are going on in the off season. So because of this, I've deemed it necessary to make this video to make sure everybody's expectations are just lowered a bit. It seems as if like a lot of people are coming to conclusions and jumping to crazy expectations when it comes to certain players, and I want to address that in this video right here because some of these players might end up disappointing you before the season ended. So because of that, make sure if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. Also, if you want to be updated on all the content that I upload on the channel, please subscribe. And as always, leave a comment in the comment section below in case I missed a player that might end up disappointing you in the regular season. But without further ado, people, let's get right into the video. First, we're going to talk about Al Horford. Now, I'm an Atlanta native. I've watched a good bit of Al Horford games. He's a very productive player, actually a pretty solid player who continues to go under the radar. I don't know why. Defensively, he moves his feet. He protects the rim pretty well. And on the offensive end, he has a face-up game. He posts up. And he's a really good passer from the high post. But for whatever reason, as soon as he went to Boston, it seemed as if like everybody was ready to jump to conclusions about how well Boston was going to do. Going to go from a 5th seed in the East all the way up to a 2nd or potentially even the 1st seed in the East. And let's take a quick look at what happened last year in the seeding so you can clearly see how crazy that is. So as you can clearly see, last year Boston finished 5th with a record of 48-34. Now I thoroughly understand that they tied with 3 other teams, but to come to conclusion that just because you added Al Horford, you're basically going to go from almost a 10-game jump simply because, again, you added one more player, I think those expectations need to be lowered. They're still going to make the playoffs, they're still going to produce, but again, adding Al Horford on the team just doesn't make any sense to why people come to conclusions to why they're going to jump so high in the standings. Also, when it comes to Al Horford and his performance individually against other elite teams, it really doesn't come across that he's going to be that much of a productive player when you're talking about the best of the best, not only in the East and the West. Because again, if you're concluding that they're going to jump from the 5th seed to the 3rd seed or the 2nd seed, then that means that you assume that this team is going to be a quote-unquote elite team. And if you actually take a time out and you look at Al Horford's productivity, he really didn't produce that well against other elite teams. So when I'm talking about elite teams, I'm talking about the 4 best teams in each conference. These are the numbers that he posted up. Again, these numbers just aren't quote-unquote elite, especially when you start to put him up against elite teams. There's a huge difference on what Al Horford is going to bring to the franchise and to the organization. And this right here is the reason why I wanted to highlight Al Horford and why he might end up being a disappointment when it comes to Boston fans. Al Horford isn't that guy. He isn't a superstar, and that's what Boston needed. From my understanding, Boston was going out there looking for a superstar, a guy that was going to consistently give them dominant presence either on the offensive end or on the defensive end, not just another well-rounded player. It probably won't be enough simply because there is a very distinct cap in productivity and efficiency and all-around play that Al Horford will bring to the Boston Celtics. Next, we're going to talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, the player that is blowing my mind personally. The fact that he's 6'11", handling the ball and facilitating the way he did last year after the All-Star break is ridiculous. And I'm actually fairly excited to see what he's going to bring to not only the team, but what he's going to bring to the league. I want to see how he's going to be able to adapt and consistently grow as a player, but the numbers that he put post All-Star was ridiculous. Matter of fact, let's just look at it real quick so we can get some context to what I'm about to say. So as you clearly see, Giannis was putting up really solid numbers for a player that really and truly has never ran point guard at a professional level so consistently like he did post All-Star game. Again, nearly 20 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, but I think by far the biggest thing that stands out to me is his assist to turnover ratio, something that I really harp on and something that really means a lot to me, especially on the efficiency end. The fact that he has a turnover ratio that's a 2.57 is really good, and hopefully he's going to be able to continue to grow on his efficiency and his productivity for the team. However, with all that being said, I don't really see how Giannis is going to continue his success on this Bucks franchise, simply because the Bucks themselves aren't able to piece a team together around Giannis is going to aid him along with everybody else in the process and the maturation of all the young players on the team. Giannis has a very distinct struggle when it comes to shooting the ball. He is a rather inconsistent shooter, especially on the perimeter, and this team, when it comes to spacing, especially since Chris Middleton took a major injury and probably will not play a game this season, it's going to be hard for this team to really space the floor around Giannis, again, a player that's not going to be able to shoot. If you actually take a time and look at the depth chart since Chris Middleton stepped out, it's going to be a struggle on the perimeter. But again, you go back to the spacing, Matthew Dellavedova is a solid shooter. Then you have Teletovic and Jason Terry. You might be able to get something out of Jabari and Beasley, but it's not too much is going on when it comes to spacing the floor. They're going to struggle a lot when it comes to spacing the perimeter on this team because of Chris Middleton and because of the major hit they took when it came to three-point shooting on the team. Hopefully this doesn't harm the productivity and growth of not only Giannis but other young players like Jabari and as well as Michael Carter-Williams, but I believe it will, because the way that the NBA is structured and the way that the defenses are running zone and certain help defense when it comes to a lot of teams, I don't really think that Giannis is going to be able to continue to adapt to this structure of defense in today's NBA so quickly. He's going to struggle. I can easily see his field goal percentage taking a dip, and I can easily see his turnovers going up a bit simply because the way that defenses will respond to him and the lack of spacing on the floor on his team. Hopefully I'm wrong, because I really do want to see him, but I just clearly see people comparing him to Magic Johnson because he's a tall guard, and it just throws me for a loop because it's a possibility that he won't be that good, not because of who he is as a player, but simply because of the teammates that are surrounding him. Next up, we have Derrick Rose, and I already know a lot of people are going to get on me because I have Derrick Rose on this list because I'm a quote-unquote hater, but before you leave your comments, please let me explain. The former MVP will consistently have you questioning which type of Derrick Rose are you going to receive throughout the NBA season, and I think a lot of people are under this assumption that he's going to play really well this year simply because of last year, how he ended off the season post All-Star, because he put it up really solid numbers. Towards the end of last year, after the All-Star break, he put up 17 points, 3 rebounds, almost 5 assists. The turnovers were still up there, but by far the one thing that really stood out to me the most was his efficiency. He shot really well from the field, 47% from there. Behind the arc, actually shot pretty solid behind the arc, even though I know he didn't shoot that many shots from 3. Really solid from behind the arc, and the free throw percentage is there as well. So because of this stat line, I think a lot of people are coming to conclusions on this is Derrick Rose's year. It seems like he's healthy, this is a contract year, and he's on a solid team that has the pieces around him to really benefit his productivity on the court. And I keep hearing MVP Rose being thrown around all of a sudden. Look, I think there's a lot of things to take in consideration when it comes to Derrick Rose on a new team and on a new franchise, and I think holding him to the standard of being an MVP is completely unfair to Derrick Rose. Matter of fact, let's just look at what Derrick Rose did last year compared to his MVP season. So on the left, you see the MVP numbers. I mean, crazy numbers: 25 points, nearly 8 assists, 4 rebounds, pretty solid field goal percentage. And on the right, you have the 16 points, 4 to 5 assists, which is pretty solid as well. Turned down the turnovers a bit, but the field goal percentage went down and took a dip. But again, this may have to do a lot with injuries. But the reason why I showed you this comparison is because I wanted to ask, Does Derrick Rose really have to put up 25 points and 8 assists? People keep jumping to this conclusion that he's going to be the MVP Rose again, and I just don't see it. Again, not because Derrick Rose doesn't have to, but because it's not needed of him to be an MVP level player anymore, because he's on a very well-rounded team. You're going to have the defense of Porzingis and Joakim Noah protecting the lane, and then you're on the perimeter with another offensive-oriented player like Carmelo Anthony. So is 25 points really needed? I do believe if you look on the right, the 16 points, of course he needs to up the assist numbers and kind of lower the turnovers, but if you come out this offseason expecting Derrick Rose to put up 25 points, please lower the expectations. I think he'll be very productive if he goes out there, he puts up somewhere between 15 to 17 points, he gives you somewhere around 5 to 8 assists, and he turns down the turnovers, but he ups up his field goal percentage and continues to shoot really solid behind the three. Of course, defense has to be a priority as well for Derrick Rose, because in today's NBA, you're facing an elite point guard almost every week, so you have to be concerned about that as well. But the MVP Rose of yesteryear is something that we need to keep in yesteryear. He's on a new team, he's on a new franchise. The expectations of being an MVP should be deaded. There's no need for him to go out there and dominate the ball like he once did. This is what we need out of Derrick Rose: a solid 15 to 18 points, a solid 5 to 8 assists, and he needs to go in there, facilitate, defend, stretch the floor, and that's all. And finally, people, we have Russell Westbrook. Now, Westbrook is finally on the team by himself, and a lot of people was ready for this and jumping to conclusions about how great Westbrook is going to be this season. And I'm not even going to lie, people, I got caught up in the hype too. I was like, okay, Westbrook, I see you out here signing a deal to be on the team by yourself and really running the organization and being the sole face of the franchise. I kind of got hyped up too. I was expecting some crazy numbers, but then I kind of gathered myself together and kind of lowered my expectations for Westbrook, because I think it is a tad bit unfair to expect Westbrook to do the crazy things and the crazy numbers that I think a lot of people are expecting out of him. So what ends up happening is a lot of people use the 2014-2015 season, the year that KD was injured and missed a lot of games, and use that sample size to raise the expectations of what Westbrook is going to do this year. Matter of fact, let's look at those numbers real quick. So in the 2014-2015 season, Russell Westbrook averaged 28 points, 7 rebounds, nearly 9 assists. The turnovers was always going to be there, which is something that consistently kills Russell Westbrook. And of course, you see the steals with 2 steals a game, 43% from the field. A pretty solid PER, to be completely honest with you, and the win shares is there as well. Now, this stat line is crazy. I'm not even going to undersell it. It's by far one of the most well-rounded stat lines we've seen in a very long time, which is why people are coming to conclusions to what to expect from Westbrook this year. Unfortunately, though, I don't think Westbrook will get the exact same stat line, and even if he comes close, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to produce as many W's as it should, because the way that Westbrook plays. I think a lot of people overlook the fact that Westbrook and his playing style isn't that efficient and he doesn't produce that many wins. But another thing I want to also highlight when we talk about that team and what that franchise was at that point in time, I think a lot of people understate how much help Westbrook had that season, and I think a lot of people will consistently understate how well that team was. Matter of fact, let's look at his depth real quick when it came to that 2014-2015 season. So that year you had Reggie Jackson at the guard position along with DJ Augustine. You had Dion Waiters, Anthony Morrow, Robertson, Serge Ibaka, Steve Adams, and Cantor. This is a pretty solid supporting cast. I don't think a lot of people will understate this. Reggie Jackson went on to be a starting player. You have Serge Ibaka, who of course is gone. Matter of fact, let's just look at what Russell is going to have this year when it comes to his help. So like I stated earlier, Reggie Jackson went on to be a starting guard. Now you have Cameron Payne, no more DJ Augustine. You probably will expect some productivity from Victor Oladipo, which is probably what you're going to get to replace what you had in Reggie Jackson a few years ago. But the biggest hole that they have not been able to fill this offseason is, of course, the depth of Serge Ibaka at that power forward position. Ilyasova is fine, but he's not really that good. So I'll say all that to say this. A lot of people underestimate the amount of productivity that they were able to produce with their supporting cast around Westbrook a few years back when KD was hurt. Now, again, they have some pretty solid players. Like I said, Oladipo's there. You're going to get way more productivity out of Adams and Cantor. But to expect the exact same numbers or somewhere close, I think it is a bit much. Again, I think he's going to have a really solid stat line, and I hope he does go out there and put up some of the craziest numbers that we've seen in a very long time. But I can very rarely see Westbrook consistently struggling from the field. I can easily see Westbrook turning the ball over more than he already does, which would be mind-blowing. And I can see his points going down a little bit. I can see the assist numbers going down a lot as well. And I can easily see that he's just not going to be nowhere near efficient as a lot of people may expect him to be, simply because that's just how Westbrook plays the game of basketball. So hopefully I'm wrong on this, but please, let's be very, very clear. The amount of help that he had 2 years ago, in my opinion, it is much more than what he had this year, even with the lack of Kevin Durant when he was injured 2 years ago. So there you have it, people. Those are the 4 players that might disappoint you. Hopefully people prove me wrong, and hopefully they go out there and they perform the way that everybody expects them to. But to be completely honest with people, I can easily see a lot of these players struggling with their new teams or struggling with their new identity for their franchises. So hopefully I'm wrong, but I can easily see a lot of these players not having the same impact that a lot of people are expecting out of them. Like I said before, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up. Also, if you want to be updated on all the NBA content that I upload on this channel, please subscribe. And as always, leave a comment in the comment section below if I miss somebody. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.